Welcome, everybody. It is so great to see you all here. All right, we have a couple more people joining us, so we'll get started in just a moment. And I will try to keep this brief because I know Keith has a ton of amazing things to show us today. I'm so excited about this. Python is one of my favorite languages. All right. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get ready to get started. Welcome, everybody. So great to see you all here. I recognize a few names. I was emailing with a few of you just this morning, so welcome. Happy to see you here. As you are settling in and we're getting started, feel free to go ahead and toss an introduction into chat. I think I put an intro slide in here. Oh, I did, but it's way in there. So go ahead and toss an introduction into chat. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, we'd love to know where our teachers are coming to us from. So if you could tell us a little bit about what you teach. Have you taught Python before? Is it one of your favorite languages like it is ours? Have you used CodeHS before? Whatever you'd like to share. I have really enjoyed seeing where our teachers are coming to us from this year. We are getting an ever expanding audience of CodeHS CS educators. So I'm going to have to put that map together and send that out to the whole group eventually. And we will also have just a few other ways for you to stay connected after this workshop as well. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to Arizona. Hello, hello. Hello. Looks like we have United Arab Emirates joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us. That is awesome. Very excited to see you here. We've got New York. Let's see. James, where are you from? Massachusetts. Nice. Hello, Tiffany from New Hampshire. Go Bills. Hey, Michael. And Tennessee. I was just in Tennessee not long ago. Ready to go back again. Awesome. Oh, and I was just in Georgia actually last week. Had a blast. I mean, I can't really handle that level of humidity all the time. I don't know how y'all do it, but had a blast in Georgia. Welcome, everybody. It's so great to see y'all. So my name is Lori. I think many of you know me, but for those of you who don't, my name's Lori. I'm a PD specialist here at CodeHS, and I am so very, very excited to be bringing to you today one of our fabulous CodeHS CS teachers and teacher trainers, Keith Bona. He is going to be showing you some amazing things that he does with Python in the CodeHS Sandbox. He's going to actually walk you through coding a program in the CodeHS Sandbox. So I'm very excited for this today. Hey, Daniela from Miami. Excellent.
My neighbor.
There we go. Keith is from Broward.
I'm up in Fort Lauderdale, yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Cool. It's such a small world when you start doing these workshops and you realize, oh, I know a lot of these people already, and they live very close to me too. So I am coming to you from South Dakota. So balmy South Dakota. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to have to get to Florida one of these days. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. So I've got some links for you to start with. First of all, we do have the links for the slides for today. If you'd like to grab those now, feel free. You can browse out to codehs.com/python-sandbox-slides. I'm going to go ahead and toss that link into chat for y'all. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. Or you can go ahead and scan that QR code also. If you are not in a place where you can grab those slides, no worries. We're also going to have you enroll in a section where you can grab the slides from there. Or I will also be sending these out afterwards in a follow-up email. I'll leave this here for just a moment if you need to grab a quick picture of this or grab that link. Link is in chat. All right. And next one. So you can use this if you like. I've been using this all summer long. We'd like to use some a question parking lot for any questions. This definitely helps make sure that oops, and I just tossed my link to the wrong spot. Give me 1 second. I'm going to switch that up again. There we go. Now it went to everybody and not just anybody who might be hanging out in the waiting room. So you can grab that link for the slides, but you can also grab this link for the question parking lot. So this is going to be a great way for you to go ahead and toss any questions out to us that we don't want to miss. Now, because our group is just a little bit smaller today, I think it's okay too if you go ahead and toss your questions into chat. I'll be keeping an eye on both the question parking lot and on chat, and we'll definitely make sure Keith sees any questions that we might need to answer live. But if you'd like to use that question parking lot, go ahead. You can also scan that QR code. And we've been doing introductions, so welcome everybody. Welcome to Maryland. Thank you for joining us today. And if we have anybody joining us for the very first time and you do not have a CodeHS account yet, we would love it if you would go ahead and sign up for a free educator account. You can do that by following the link on the slide, codehs.com/sign-up. Takes just a couple of minutes to sign up for your educator account. If you are signing up for the very first time today, be aware that I will need to verify your account as an educator just to make sure we're not giving solutions to any students or anything like that. But you'll be able to use the site and everything starting right away today. And I think I'm looking at your names. I recognize so many of these names. I have a feeling we don't have a lot of people who do not have an account. So once you have an account, or if you can sign into your account, we would love it if you'd go ahead and enroll in our workshop section for today. This is going to be a place where we curate some of the resources. And I've also dropped a few Python things in there, Python activities, just in case you want to play a little bit more. If you haven't tried out the CodeHS content yet, you can go ahead and try them out here as a student. I'm going to go ahead and toss this link into chat. There we go. Once you click that link, it's going to look something like this. You can go ahead and enroll in this section by clicking on Join Section. And I'll keep an eye on that on the back end. Once I turn it over to Keith, if you've got any questions about getting into that, I can absolutely help you do that if you have any issues. Right, and it looks like, just taking a look over here, looks like we're getting in. Excellent. Okay. And again, let me know if you have any questions about getting into that section. Okay, now the next link, this is going to be the big one. Many of us need those certificates to show that, hey, we are continuing our professional development. So if you could please click on this link, codehs.com/python-sandbox-attend. This checks you into the workshop and allows me to send you a certificate of attendance, which I will send out immediately following this workshop today. And I just tossed that into chat. Oh, wonderful. I see a bunch of you in here already. Perfect. Our CodeHS teachers are pros. You know how to get into these sections. Nobody needs help. Okay, excellent. But if you do need anything, don't hesitate to drop me a message and I will help you out in just a moment. All right. And I think we are good to go. And Keith, I think this is going to be my last slide. So let me reintroduce our amazing teacher trainer, Keith Bona. I met you a year ago. Is that it? I feel like I've known you for a while.
Yeah, it
It's
feels
been a
like
while.
longer.
And we haven't actually met in person. So this is just sad. I got to get to Florida. So Keith, I'm so excited you're doing this for us today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Take it away, Keith.
Thanks, Lori. So hello, everyone. My name's Keith, and I'm in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I've been teaching coding for about 7 years now. And one of the things that I've gotten my students doing is coding in the Sandbox, where they get to write code from scratch You can go in and you can, play on websites and use the CodeHS to complete assignments. But when the kids get in there and they start writing their own code in the sandbox and then seeing it run, you just see another level of excitement. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is just writing some Python code in the sandbox. We'll walk you through how to get to the sandbox, how to go ahead and create a Python lesson in the sandbox. So we'll do all that. But first, we're just going to talk about what the sandbox is. It's a place where you can write programs outside the bounds of an exercise. You can write programs starting from scratch in any one of the programming languages, but we're going to use Python today. Okay, so as we make our way through the lesson, I am going to comment in all of the coding so that when you refer back to the lesson, you'll be able to see exactly why we were writing that line of code. So in Python, for a short comment, we use the # or the hashtag to create a short comment. If you want to make a longer comment, it's a triple quote. So for today, we're going to use the # hashtag to comment out all of our lines of code so that when you refer back to that, you could see exactly what we were doing. Variables. So variables in Python can only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. We're going to create a couple of variables today in order to create our lines of code that they execute. In Python, variable names can start with a letter or an underscore, but they cannot start with a number. Spaces are not allowed in Python variable names. And the variable name should not contain any keywords that are designated in Python. Okay, so the way to write a variable is we're going to give it a name, equals, and then we're going to set it equal to some kind of value. So in the example that I provide here, we named a variable called triangle, and we set that triangle equal to 25. So this creates a variable called triangle, and it sets that variable equal to 25. Okay, we're going to use user inputs today as well. So there's two different types of user inputs. The first user input will allow the user to type an input as a string using the keyboard. So this will be able to type like words. You give it a name, so a variable name equals input, so it's asking for the keyboard input, and then in parentheses and then quotes, you type the question that you're asking. The other kind of user input is to ask for numbers. So it looks very similar, except we're going to throw the int here for integer. So it'll be the variable name equals int for integer, and then open parentheses, the input, and then open parentheses again, in quotes, you ask your question. So these are two important rules to know for students to know so that they know how to enter user input using the keyboard. So one allows you to enter words, one allows you to enter numbers. Okay, if, elif, and else. So the way that this works, we can use an if statement to see if a line of code is true or false. If it is true, that line of code is going to execute, and then our loop is going to be done. If the if statement is false, the code is going to move down to the elif statement and check to see if that line of code is true or not. If that's true, the code is going to execute, and then the loop is done. And then if that's false, then we go down to the else statement, and the else statement line will execute, and then that would complete the loop. So these are all parts that we're going to need for the assignment that we're going to look at today. Modulus, or mod. This is the remainder after dividing one number by another. So you only care about the remainder with modulus. The modulus symbol is the %. So if I look at the example chart that I have here, 5 mod 1. So what it's asking here is how many times does 1 divide into 5. Well, that would go in 5 times. My remainder would be 0. So the only thing that you care about with modulus is the remainder. So there would be no remainder. 5 divided by 1 goes 5 times, remainder 0. Okay. So if I did 5 mod 2, 2 is going to go into 5 2 times. That's going to be 4. And my remainder is going to be 1. So 5 mod 2, my answer would be 1. The remainder would be 1. 5 mod 3, 3 goes into 5 1 time, and my remainder would be 2. So that's how the modulus works. We're going to use that today to determine if a line of code that we write has a remainder. We're going to use that to determine if numbers are odd or even. Okay, so here's the assignment that we're going to work on today. We're going to open up the CodeHS Sandbox, and we're going to create a program called odd or even. And we're going to write code to ask the user to enter a number. And then using mod and using if and else statements, we're going to determine if that number is odd or even. So what we're going to do, if you open up your CodeHS account and you click on Sandbox. So we're going to click on Sandbox, and it's going to bring you to a screen that looks like this. And where we're going to focus is right here in the middle, create new program. So right here, we're going to name that program odd or even. So we'll do odd or even. And then we're going to go ahead and hit create. These are all the different programming languages that are available in your sandbox. And the one that we're going to focus on is the top one right here, Python 3. So we'll go ahead and click Python 3. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and hit create program. So down here in this bottom corner, we'll go ahead and we'll click on OK. Okay, so I'll give everyone a minute to get there, get your sandbox open. And when it opens, you have a blank canvas to work it. It always opens up with hello world. So we could take that out. We don't need that. So if you have any questions about how to get to the sandbox or how to name a program, pick the language. Are we all in the sandbox? We're good to go? Okay. So we're going to write a program now to determine if a user number entered is odd or even. So the first thing we're going to do, remember I said I'm going to comment everything out so you can see each line of code why we're doing that. So the first line that we're going to write, we're going to put a comment and we're going to say, create a user input to ask for a number. So we want the user to enter a number. That's the first thing we're going to do. Okay. So if you remember back to the slides, I'm going to refer back really quickly. For our user input, you had two choices. You had if they want to enter words or text, or they want to enter integers. Well, since we're asking for a number, we want to use this format right here. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a variable name equals int, and then open parentheses, input, and then ask your question. So we're going to do, we can name our variable anything. So since I'm asking for a number, I'm going to name my variable number or num. So I'll do num equals int for integer. We need an input. And then in quotes, please enter a number. Okay, so there's my user input that's asking for a number. Okay, next, we need to determine if that number, when divided by 2, has a remainder. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to see if there's a remainder using modulus. Remember, modulus only cares about the remainder after dividing one number by another. So we're going to say, again, it's a variable, so you can name it anything you want. So we're going to use modulus to determine if the number has a remainder. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. We can name this variable anything that we want. So since we're doing modulus, I'll do mod equals. I'm going to take my user input from line 2. So I'm going to do num. Remember, the modulus sign is %, and I'm going to divide it by 2. So that line of code right there is saying take the number that they enter and divide it by 2 and see if there's a remainder. Okay, next line of code. Use if else to determine if the number is odd or even. So we're going to use an if statement to figure out if the number that they entered on line 2 is odd or even. So we'll say if mod is greater than 0. Remember, in an if statement, you always have to end with your colon. So we're saying that there is a remainder. So if there is a remainder, we're going to print. We're going to call the variable that we created on line 2. So we'll do num, comma. So what that's going to do is that no matter what number they enter on line 2, it's going to be printed there. Is an odd number. Because there's a remainder, we know that when it was divided by 2, it was not even. So it had to be an odd number. Else, so if the remainder is 0, so it was not greater than 0, with the remainder is 0, we can print num, so the user input from line 2 is an even number. And that would be all the lines of code that we need to create this assignment. So we're asking for a user input on line 2. They're going to be able to enter any number they want. Line 5 is determining if there is a remainder when divided by 2. And then lines 8, 9, 10, and 11 are looking at that remainder. And if it's greater than 0, so there is a remainder, it's going to determine that that's an odd number. And if there is not a remainder, then it has to be an even number. So if we go ahead and we run this, okay, so please enter a number. I could do 4. It should return that 4 is an even number, which we get. Okay, if I run this again, please enter a number. I'll enter 7. 7 is an odd number. So there's a quick little assignment that you can have your students do to determine if a number is odd or a number is even. Okay, do we have any questions on the first part that I can go over? Dory, are we good on questions?
We are. I haven't seen any questions yet.
Okay,
If anybody has any, don't hesitate to drop those in chat or the question parking lot.
awesome. Okay, so if we're good on this part, we're going to take this same assignment and we're going to add another level to it to make it a little more complex. So I'll go back to the notes here. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at taking that assignment and we're going to pretend that we have a dice, a six-sided dice. And on a roll of the dice, we want to be able to determine if the roll of the dice is even or odd. To do this, we're going to need some other pieces of code. So random range or rand range is a method in Python that randomly selects an element from a specified range. So the way that this code works, it's random.randRange, and you put a start number, comma, a stop number, and how much do you want it to step by. So if you don't put a step number in there, it increments by 1. Just like the rand range, you also have rand int. The difference between these two is that the rand int can be used when you know the interval limits. So for instance, if I said return a number between 3 and 9, I can use the rand int to do that because I know my start and I know my stop. We're going to use that for the dice today because we know that the dice is a six-sided dice, 1 through 6. Okay, so what we're going to do on this one is we're going to have a program that says rolling dice, and then we're going to have the code pause for a certain amount of seconds. That's going to be like the shaking of the dice cup. And then we're going to have a line that says your number is, and then we'll have the roll of the dice appear. And then we'll be able to determine if that dice was an odd number or an even number. So I'm going to do that right in the same program that we've been working in. What we can do is we can throw in a print line and just leave it blank so that we get a space when the program runs. And the first thing that we need to do for this assignment is we need to import from Python. Python has code that's already pre-written, and the random code is one of them. So from random, we're going to import the random integer. And let me go ahead and comment that out first. So we're going to import from Python random integer. And then we're going to go to import random. Okay, the next thing that we need, because we want the dice to be mimic being shaken in a cup, we need to import time. So we're going to import from Python time. And then we'll just do import time. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a variable for our dice. So create a variable for the dice. So I'll use the word dice equals. Now we want to have a random roll, so I'll do random dot randit. And remember, you have to know your start and your stop. We know that the dice is six-sided, so I'll do 1,6. Next, we want to have a printout rolling dice. So this is going to be where it's going to mimic shaking the cup. So we'll say print rolling dice / shaking dice in shaker. So we're going to do print rolling dice. And now right here, we need a pause. We want it to pause for a certain amount of time. So we're going to do time because we imported time up here on line 21. We're able to use that variable, do time.sleep. And then in parentheses, we can put how long you want the pause to be. So we could say, let's say 5 seconds. Okay. Now we need to print the output. So we want to print what number dice you got. So print the number of die roll. So we need to see what number was printed. So we'll do print your number is, and we'll see what number comes out. Now, we don't know what number is going to come out. It's going to be random from the shake of the cup. So what we're going to do is we're going to put an open curly bracket and a closed curly bracket. What that's going to do is allow Python to randomly pick a number from the random random. So after the open and close parentheses, we're going to do a dot format, and we're going to put our variable in there that we called from line 24, which was dice. So what's going to happen now, it's going to say your number is, and then it's going to refer back to the random roll of the dice up here. Now what we have to do is we have to determine if that dice roll is an odd or an even number. So it's the same thing that we did up above, except this time I'm going to do it a different way so that you'll have 2 different examples of how to get an odd or even number. Here, we were looking to see if the mod or the remainder was greater than 0. If there was a remainder, it had to be an odd number. This time we'll set it equal to 0. Just to do it a little bit different, just to give you experience doing it a second way. So we are going to check, so what we're going to do here, check to see if the dice roll is odd or even. So we'll do if dice mod 2 is equal to 0. This time we're setting it so that there's no remainder. Before we did it, was it greater than 0? That was checking for an odd number. This time we're setting that remainder equal to 0, so we're checking for an even number. So if the dice roll divided by 2 is equal to 0, we're going to do a print. We'll do the dice is an even number. Else, print dice is an odd number. Okay, so what this should do now is allow us to have a random roll of a dice, The cup is going to shake for 5 seconds, and then it's going to randomly throw out a number, and then it's going to determine if that number is odd or even. So let's go ahead and run this. And so it's going to do the first part up here first. So pick any number. I'll do 75. It should tell me that's an odd number. Now I got my rolling my dice. It's shaking the cup. And it rolled a dice 4. And it tells me that 4 is an even number. There you go. A cute little program that takes the odd or even number and applies it to rolling a dice. So if we run it again, we pick another number, 44. That's an even number. The cup is shaking again. It's rolling the dice. And it rolled a 5 this time. 5 is an odd number. Do we have any questions on this one?
We have not had questions yet. I am, and you might have mentioned this and I might have missed it when I was doing some other links and things. So what grade level do you use this with?
These are for my 7th graders.
Cool. Excellent. Love it. I'm not seeing questions yet. So if you've got any questions at all, go ahead and toss those into chat or into the question parking lot.
So does anyone need any help on creating a sandbox, how to use the sandbox?
I have a question on why online you have 2 equal signs right next to each other. On your code, I can't scroll through as to what.
Right down here.
Yeah, right there.
So in Python, you have a single equal sign, you have a double equal sign, and you have a triple equal sign. So what this is doing here, the double equal sign, is checking to see if the remainder, the mod, is equal to 0 with this one. So when you have one equal sign, it sets the value equal to that number. A double equal sign checks to see if the left side of the equation is equal to the right side of the equation. So if we would have just done one equal sign, what that would do is it would set dice mod 2 equal to the number 0, which we wouldn't want. You have to do the double equal sign.
I also have a syntax error on that same line. For me, it's line number 45, but I have it written exactly as you have it written, and the syntax.
So you have, are we talking about this line right here?
Nope, the one below it.
This print one?
Oh, I think I'm missing that comma is what I'm missing.
Yeah, so what the comma does here, whatever number the program picks for the dice roll, it's going to put it in there. So if you look over to the right here, pick the number 5, and then it replaces the word dice right here with that number. So it will say 5 is an odd number. That's why we didn't put it in quotes either.
Okay.
Okay.
Keith, what is the triple equal sign?
So the triple equal sign checks to see, it's used strictly if it's checking to see if the left side and the right side are equal to each other, but it also is checking to see that the type of, like for instance, string has to match a string, and int has to match an int. Whereas double equal sign, it could be a string and an int, and it wouldn't matter. It's just checking to see if one side is equal to the other. The triple equal sign is checking to see if it's the same number and the same type of entry, string or int or float or something like that.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Those are great questions, everybody.
So yeah, the triple equal sign is just, it's looking for more precise. Not that just that they're equal, that they're the same kind of entry as well.
That reminds me of object-oriented a little bit too.
Yes.
Definitely takes it another level.
Yes.
Other questions? How's everybody else doing? Are we seeing any syntax errors? Are we doing okay?
Do you see that this would be, something that you could use in the classroom with your students if you ask them to write a lesson, determine if the number is odd or even? Does this seem like something that they would be able to do?
I think so. I think I'd have to go through it a lot slower.
Yeah, I mean, we're confined with the time, but what I did was I brought in, dice, and I had them rolling dice on the desk. And then I said, okay, now let's take what you did and let's code it so that the computer can generate what you're doing on the desk.
I love that strategy too. I think that's such a good approach to programming lessons, just to find a
Yes.
way to make it tangible. And just so everybody understands too, all of your students all have access to a sandbox. And for your students in particular, you would be able to access their sandboxes. So they're not a private, other students can't access them unless they share them, but you would be able to access them as their teacher.
Correct. So there's different ways that you can grade this. I mean, you could have them do a screenshot of their code and their output and submit it. You could have them show you that it's working. You could hit the share button. You can see their sandbox. I mean, there's different ways that you can grade this assignment, whatever works for you. I like to have them upload something. This way, for parent conferences, we can pull, examples of their work.
There's actually some really cool ways as well to grab this code or this program, this working program, and actually share just the program. So maybe parents can see how the program runs without necessarily, we're kind of abstracting away all that code so they don't have to deal with that. But you can actually share just that running program. So
Yes, with the share button, correct?
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Super
So
cool way to do it.
Yeah, so what we would do is we would hit the share button here, and then you would just pick the options. Do you want public? Do you want to show your code? You can copy the link. You can have students collaborate if you wanted them to work together. So a great way to share your program, share your work is with the share button right here.
I'm glad you pointed out collaborate. We just got a question. Can I use real-time collaboration? And
Yes, actually, if you look over to your left, there's the settings button, and then right below that you have collaborate.
That's definitely a great option. I encourage,
especially with coding, we always code in peer pairs, especially with the debugging.
oh, for sure. I love that idea.
Yes.
And I love all the comments too.
Yes, please provide any feedback.
Let's see if we have any questions popping in on the parking lot. Cool. Any other questions from anybody? All right, excellent. I think you covered a lot of stuff, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, we got two great lessons here, and they're working great. They're commented out, so they have the comments as to why we wrote the lines of code. You have the slides that explain. So I think you got two great lessons here.
Absolutely. I love this. I think this covers so many things. I think this is such a great way to approach programming too. It's great to take them through the lessons, but actually bringing in the use of the sandbox and these projects that don't have those constraints of auto graders.
I mean, I have probably about 15 lessons in the sandbox, everything from Hangman to Fibonacci's to tic-tac-toe.
That's cool.
Where they were writing their own code, yeah.
And kids get so excited about it. So, and we would love to know what you all try. So if you are doing some of your own Sandbox projects, definitely let us know.
Yeah, so the question was time and random are libraries a function. Yeah, those are preset in Python, so you're just importing them.
So one of the places you can get to some documentation.
Yes, I was just gonna say.
Cool. Yep.
Yeah, on your Sandbox, if you look over right next to where the output is, you do have a library with documents there, and you can access that at any time. Be right in this area.
So yes, this lesson will, so if you code it along with Keith, this lesson will stay in your Sandbox unless you delete it. And then what we will also do too, Keith is going to go ahead and share this link with me, and we'll share this out with everybody. So you've got the completed version too, just in case you got some syntax errors, you can take a look at his program as well. And the cool thing with that is when you share Sandboxes with other teachers, or students can do this as well, you can actually fork that code. So you're going to see an additional button show up at the top to the left of the share button that says fork. And actually clicking that will allow you to create an entire copy of Keith's Sandbox or anybody's Sandbox and have a copy of it in your own. How do you rename it? Keith, do you want to show them how you
so
can rename
we
this?
can, if you go back to your Sandbox, so here's my Sandbox, here's my program. So here's the one we just did, odd or even. You have these 3 dots right here. I call them the 3 blueberries. If you click on those 3 blueberries, you can rename, you can create a copy, you can move to a folder, you know, delete. So right here, you could hit rename and then rename it, you know, anything you want. Dice roll if you wanted, and then just hit rename, and then there's your rename.
I like the 3 blueberries.
Yes, I always call them the 3 blueberries.
That's a great idea. I'm just all boring and I say, click the 3 more dots.
I'm
going with blueberries.
I say to my students, 3 blueberries. They know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. But yes, right next to your output is your documents. So I've clicked on it and you can see, you know, the basics. You have your math functions, you know, down to your control structures. They're all right here. So we did if-else statements today. We did variables. We did math. We did random numbers. Covered a lot.
Yeah, for sure. This is a great lesson.
User inputs.
So I'm just looking, Michael, I'll take a look. If you're, yeah, if this is your first time creating an account, I think I am, okay, perfect. That's good. I was going to say, if you're signed in to CodeHS, you should be able to save your Sandbox. But I'm going to go out after this and make sure I get you verified. So that way you don't have to, we're pretty fast with that process, but make it a little faster. Perfect. That way you can have the solutions right off the bat. Excellent. So, and another note about the Sandbox too, one cool thing about it is that you can actually access the Sandbox from being logged out of CodeHS. But beware if you're doing that, because you won't be able to save anything, of course. So students can access it if they're logged out. You can access it if you're logged out. But yeah, if you want them to save, definitely make sure they're logging into it. Cool. Any other questions, everybody? Awesome. Keith, I think this has been pretty amazing. Is there anything else you're thinking?
Yeah, no, we covered a lot, so I hope I didn't go too fast. I know we covered a bunch of things, but hopefully you found it useful.
I think that was perfect. So yeah, we're definitely going to be hitting up Keith for some more sessions.
I have plenty.
Perfect. So watch for more of those to come along. And Keith, I'm going to steal your share for just a moment.
Sure, go ahead.
And I'm going to pop back over to my slides, maybe. There we go. Oh, look, I was even prepared. Usually I'm clicking through my slides to get here. All right. So that was awesome, Keith. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
That was so great. Really enjoyed seeing how you use the Sandbox with your middle school kids. And we definitely want to hear about how all of you use your Sandbox too. I think it's a great tool and just such a great way to encourage student voice as well, because they really have a chance to create something there. So we have a few other
Yeah,
resources.
they get
Oh, go
very
ahead.
creative in that sandbox.
It's so cool. And we want to see all of those projects if you'd like to share them. So please do.
Yeah.
We actually have a cool way for you to share them too, if you'd like. You can always email them, but on this slide, we've got a few other resources that we wanted to share. And we do have a CodeHS community Slack channel workspace, or Slack workspace. Slack channel workspace did not make sense. We have a Slack workspace for our CodeHS community. I'm going to go ahead and toss that link into chat. If you don't have a Slack, maybe I'm going to. My mouse is saying nope. I'm going to get you to the right screen, Lori. It's just, let me make sure I'm doing it right. There we go. codehs.com/community-connect. If you don't have a Slack account yet, you'll be able to create one by going to that link. And once you join, I'll see that you've joined in that community. And we're starting to add channels like Python. We need a middle school channel. I don't think I have one. What on earth? What am I thinking? We'll put a middle school CS channel in there as well. But definitely join that. We'd love to try to keep the conversation going. And it's a great place to share. That's a little bit more private than, say, just social media. So, but we have some other resources as well. If you are really excited about CodeHS, I absolutely encourage you to apply for the Certified Educator Program. Great program, gives you a few additional perks, some access to other meetups, some other opportunities as well, maybe some swag in there. I know I still love swag. Who am I kidding? I loved swag when I was in the classroom. I love swag now. I'll continue just to get all the swag I can get, but definitely some swag involved there. And check out, there we go. Got a couple things blocking my screen. Check out our other CodeHS workshops. We have a ton of workshops coming up with more added all the time. I'm going to drop that link in chat for you as well. codehs.com/free-PD. And if I go to the next slide, there's that link again. We have 3 more workshops coming up this week. I should have squeezed them all on this slide. We have one tomorrow called Getting Started with CodeHS. This is going to really take you through a good overview of what the platform does. This is going to be a 2-hour workshop from 11 to 1 CT tomorrow. And you can register at codehs.com/free-PD. Then Thursday, we have another teacher trainer session brought to us by Sean Razor called Preparing to Teach APCS Principles. If you are a new APCSP teacher, this will be a good one for you to pop into. Then on Friday, and I neglected to put this, and I should have added it because I think it's a good complement to Keith's today. Felicia Palm, another teacher trainer, is going to be leading a workshop on Friday called Customizing CodeHS Lessons for Scaffolding and Differentiation. Felicia, if I remember correctly, I know she does HTML, she does some web design, but she also does Python too. But regardless of the language, you can learn about how to customize, how she customizes some of her lessons as well. So another really good one. Let's see if we do not make the workshop. Oh, yep. As long as you, oh, perfect. The date says June 38th. So it does. I'll fix that. I will fix that on the slide. It is on Thursday. It is not June 38th. What on earth? All of those. They're all July. I'll fix them. All right. Lori needs a nap, so we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. But trust me, these are this week. So, and yes, as long as you register for these, I will absolutely send you out the recorded events. So definitely, we're just going to get off that slide since I've just got Junes all over the place and June 38th. And wow, super good on my part. All right. So everybody, let's go ahead and send you one last link here. If you could just take a moment to let us know how we did by clicking on codehs.com/workshop survey, and take a moment, let us know what you liked, and let us know if there's anything else that we can bring to you. So many of our ideas are teacher driven. Whether the ideas come from teacher trainers or from you, our dedicated CS teachers, we would love to know what else you would like to see. So go ahead and take a moment to fill out the survey. And I want to say thank you. So first of all, Keith, I want to thank you because this was
Oh, thank you.
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
This was fabulous. We will definitely be talking about what your next workshop should be. So I will allow him no time to rest, everybody. So I'll get him thinking about the next one. But thank you so much, Keith. This was great.
Excited.
And thank you all for joining us. We know that your summer is winding down quickly. We were just talking about that before the workshop started.
It's crazy.
We're just gonna stay in denial for a little while. It's still summer, so make sure you're present in your day and enjoy your day as much as possible. But thank you so much. We know you have a lot to choose from, and you chose to spend your time with us, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything you do for your kids. So thank you all. And like I said, we've got 3 more workshops coming up this week in July. So head out to codehs.com/freepd. and register for any and all, and I'll make sure you get those recordings if you can attend. So thanks everybody, and we are looking forward to seeing you at the next CodeHS workshop. See y'all soon.
Take care, everyone.